A few weeks ago, we had a weekend when it wasn't forecasted to rain. In fact, we had a heat wave going on, which is rare to the Pacific Northwest in April. So Christina and I decided to meet up with some friends for a quick overnight trip on a route we'd been looking at. So we busted out of work early and headed up to our rendezvous point. But first, we would have to contend with some traffic. Routing us Freeway to 503.
Okay.
So it's the fastest way of getting there. Soon we were free of the hustle and bustle and on the open road headed into the hills. We were excited to experience our first time overlanding with a second vehicle, so we were early to our rendezvous point. We found a shady spot to wait for our friends. They were excited to get started too. We wouldn't have to wait long. We had plotted out a loop route on Gaia that looked like it could be a fun route, sort of a road less traveled route. With the snow levels still recently quite low and the route reaching up to 4,000 feet, we were pretty sure we wouldn't be able to get all the way through, but we were curious to see what the route looked like to see how far we could get. We had several points of interest along the way we wanted to explore. One was this 2-track road heading up into the hills. These are the kind of trails we like to explore. The kind that few travel, the kind that throw some mild challenges at us, and occasionally leave us with souvenirs of our adventure in the form of pinstripes. Driven by the urge to find out what's around the next corner, as the road gets increasingly more overgrown and rutted and rockier. The road eventually deteriorated into a trail only suitable for off-road motorcycles, which wasn't a surprise to us because that is what the map showed us as well. Still, we had some fun exploring this little side road and even found a couple of decent campsites. Unfortunately, we spent way too much time on that side road and lost a lot of valuable daylight. We had a lot of miles to cover to try and get through the route as far as we could. The intention was to drive up as far as we could before we hit snow and before just to see where the road was going to be impassable. Unfortunately, we got about probably 7 miles up the road and then came around a corner and there was a big patch of snow and trees across the road. Well, not to be daunted, we got through the snow, we knocked down the trees, and through all of that, we knock down trees and we drive a quarter of a mile and we knock down some more trees and we drive a quarter of a mile, and we did this for hours, probably 2 or 3 hours. Never thought to get out the camera. I mean, we had intentionally not filmed the trip because filming really takes a lot of time, and when we're trying to cover ground, it just doesn't really work very well. But we really should have been filming all the tree cutting and winching through all these different places and all that. And we finally got to a point where we had hit another patch of snow and there was a bunch of downed trees. And I looked at the map and we were still only at about 2,000 feet, 2,500 feet. And we knew we had to get to 4,000 feet. And we finally had to make the decision. It was getting close to dark and we didn't want to be doing this in the dark, and there wasn't really a good place. We'd passed several places to camp. So we had decided it was time to throw in the towel and turn back and go find a level spot to camp for the night. So we made our way back to camp. We arrived back in camp probably about 10:30. So setting up camp in the dark. And with this setup, that's a challenge. Fortunately, we have our camp lights. We have lots of light to work with, but it's still, walking on unlevel ground, tripping on rocks and all that kind of stuff. It's a huge pain in the butt. It definitely shows me how our overland build is really going to make this work a lot better for us. But we got camp set up, we got a really nice dinner made, and we even had a little bit of time to sit around the campfire before going to bed. It was like situation critical. We had to have a campsite. We had a lot of time to set up. We were setting up in the dark.
Wait, we have cool. Wait.
Oh shit, now you're spreading the fire.
I know, right?
Come on, that's how forest fires happen. Trying to put it out, kick it over somewhere else.
Like, I've got a chill, it's fine.
Well, if I need to, I will move quickly to the 7 gallons of water over there.
Okay. Or the fire extinguisher we have under the seat.
Yep. When I have that van set up the way that I want it,
thing.
I will be able to pull into a site and within 20 minutes we could be.
Yeah.
The next morning was a quick rise and shine, breakfast, and then pack up and head out. We had to be back in town by afternoon, so we had very little time to explore any further, but vowed to come back again soon, when the snow had a bit more time to clear, and next time we'd bring a chainsaw.
some moments back in time. I could've swore that I was in it, down to every minute. Don't know what I was sipping, but I felt like I was doing fine. Oh my. Turns out that I just got a little bit south, just a little bit north of the Georgia line. Southern comfort, hanging with my friends, all playing games. We all started at a full house, ended up just me and good old James. I could swore that I was winning, kinda had a feeling. Last thing I remember, I was drinking till the moonshine. Oh my. Turns out that I just got a little bit south, just a little bit north of the Georgia line.
This was a good trip for us. Sometimes we learn things in our failures. I learned a couple of things about filming the hard stuff and making sure I've got a camera out when things get difficult. I learned it's okay to turn back when the hour is late. I learned that trying to explore on Fridays after work is really not reasonable. I think in the beginning of your overland experience, figuring some of these things out is what it's all about. This trip will haunt me, but it's okay. We would find ourselves right back here a few weeks later. But you'll have to stay tuned for that adventure. Thanks for joining us on this trip. I hope to see you again on the next one.